From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Brad Turner, in today for Erin O'Toole. Summertime in Colorado often means the air we breathe is a little compromised. There are ozone alert days when the nastier components along the Front Range make the air feel a little thicker. And there are those hazy wildfire days. Our guest today says we shouldn't overlook the importance of indoor air quality. Delphine Farmer is a professor of chemistry at CSU who says the air inside our homes is one of the biggest influences on our health, whether it's fine particulates from cooking or fumes from bathroom cleaners. Delphine shared some tips with Erin O'Toole on how to spruce up the air inside your home and what to watch or smell for as you do it.
So you study air quality overall, including outdoor air quality related to wildfires. How did you move into focusing on the air inside of our homes?
So about 10 years ago, I went to a meeting where I was presenting work on outdoor air pollution, and I heard this incredible statistic that in the United States, on average, we spend 90% of our time indoors. Wow. And that number made me so curious because if we spend all this time indoors, then why is it that our health effects are often correlated to outdoor air pollution? And what does that indoor air actually have in it? And what are we being exposed to? So that set me off on a whole new track of research. And I started working with some colleagues, and we brought all of our fancy chemistry instruments to a home, and we started measuring what was the air inside this home, and then what happened when we just cooked and when we cleaned and when we just sat in a home. And I learned so much about what is in indoor air during that project.
Yeah. You told our producer the number one piece of advice to improve air quality in your home is about the kitchen. You urge people to open a window or use a ventilation hood when they cook. Why is that at the top of your list?
Because every time you turn on that heat and you put oil in that pan or you throw vegetables onto a pan, that moment you create a huge number of particles. So aerosol particles are little tiny droplets. You can't even see them, but those are the particles that we know have a really strong correlation to health impacts. We know that they increase rates of asthma, they impact cardiorespiratory health, they have all sorts of impacts. And so they're one of the first things we want to reduce. And of course, anytime you fry in a pan, there are lots of particles. So my first piece of advice is to try and keep the air as ventilated and clean as possible when you're cooking.
Let's talk about bathroom cleaners. These can smell harsh, although sometimes they have a pleasant pine smell. What is going on with these? Am I smelling a clean bathroom or something else?
The cleanest air is air that has the least in it. So if you can smell the air, you probably are adding components and you're adding chemicals to it. And that's not always bad. I mean, those citrus or those pine scents in and of themselves aren't doing you any harm. But what they are doing is enabling more chemistry. The worst thing about our bathrooms is that we often use harsher cleaners. So people will use bleach, for example, or ammonia, two things you never want to have anywhere near each other. But when you smell, say, that bleach scent, that's got harsher chemicals, and we know they can react with the outer layer of your skin. So whenever I clean in my bathroom, I always turn on the bathroom fans or crack open a window or both if you can, but anything to clear out that air.
Quickly, I want to ask about a few other indoor air quality concerns of yours. Should I be using scented candles in my home?
So anytime you burn anything, and I really do mean that, whether it's toast in your toaster oven or I have been known to overcook food on the stove. Yeah. Anytime you burn anything, you're generating lots more of those particles that we talked about. And of course, candles are a form of combustion. You are just burning the wick, that little thread up the middle. And so what you're doing with that is you are producing a lot of particles. You're also producing other gases, nitrogen oxides, and other components that you probably don't want to breathe either. But all you're doing with a candle is actually making your air more polluted, not cleaner, even if it smells nice.
I'm curious about your thoughts on air purifiers. How useful are they in making indoor air more breathable?
The simple air purifiers are fantastic. They're one of the cheapest and easiest ways you have to improve the quality of the air in your home. And so all you need is a fan and a filter. And you can buy some really nice, quiet ones online, or you can even build one for yourself using just filters for an HVAC system and a box fan that you can buy at a hardware store. No matter what, if you have a fan and a filter, you're going to pull all of those particles from the air and they're going to stick to the filter. And so you reduce the level of those pollutants. So it's a really simple and really cheap way to improve your air quality.
Okay. I'm curious, Delphine, about whether there is an affordable way for me to gauge whether the air in my home is clean. What do you recommend using?
You can buy all sorts of nice little sensors to tell you about air quality. And so the cheapest ones will just have CO2, carbon dioxide, and that will tell you about how long the air is staying around inside your home. And that's because whenever we exhale, we release CO2 into that room. And so, of course, if we're bringing in cleaner outdoor air inside the home, then you dilute that so the levels stay low. But if you have a bunch of people at a party inside your house, then those levels might get to be really high. So that tells you how much dilution is happening inside your house effectively. So you want a nice low CO2 level. Okay. But you can also buy little sensors that will tell you about PM 2.5. And so those little sensors will tell you what that particulate matter or PM 2.5 level is inside. And they should go high if you have lots of cooking. And otherwise, they should be nice and low. And so those can be really nice indicators to tell you what the quality of the air is in your home and when it's time to turn on that air purifier or open the window.
Finally, Delphine, how much of your advice for better indoor air simply boils down to open a window when you can?
Yeah, a lot of it boils down to open a window. And the only caveat, and it's a really important one I have on this, is that you want to know that your outdoor air quality is good. So as long as we don't have a wildfire smoke event and the air isn't hazy outside, and as long as you don't live next to a highway where you can smell the traffic, and as long as we don't have a high ozone alert day, then opening a window is always a good idea for the air quality inside your home.
Delphine Farmer, professor of chemistry at CSU, speaking with In The NoCo's Erin O'Toole. We'll have links to more of Delphine's advice on maintaining good indoor air quality in our show notes and at kunc.org. If you have feedback on this episode or any interview on In The NoCo, drop us a line. Email us at noco@kunc.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Brad Turner. Thanks for listening.